and we alive. And my smokers, y'all see that I probably already have a crush on this one just by the hair color. I love a redhead, man.
Oh, you're a redhead fan.
Oh, I'm a
Oh.
pure redhead fool. I love a redhead. I'm sorry, nothing sexy. And how you doing tonight, gorgeous?
I'm fabulous. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, pretty good. Shoot, just another day. Well, worked my little 9 to 5, my vanilla job and what have you, and was looking forward to talking to you today after I ran across your page and checked you out and did my research. Yes, Lord. So
Well, thanks for having me.
no doubt. And I got to ask this to begin with. How happy were you when you found out that you was a hot wife?
How happy was I? I mean, it's kind of the dream, right? To have a doting husband and be able to do everything else I want to do. It's like, yeah, I get the best of every world. So it certainly doesn't suck.
Yeah, because it was funny because before this year, the thing the MILF was hot, being the MILF but all of a sudden out of the blue, we now have what is called the hot wife era. And it's funny because when I first got in the game back in 2010, women did not in any way, shape, form, or fashion mention that they were married or have a relationship. Now it's a badge of honor. So
Right.
so
Yeah, why not?
yeah, so it did because I'm pretty sure you heard about how the industry was, saying prior to you getting in. Did you think that being married and then knowing that and that's part of the stick was part of the stick for porn? You get what I'm saying?
To be completely honest with you, I didn't really get into the industry in a traditional way, so it's not even something I really thought about. I didn't even know that I wanted to do porn. I was doing a podcast where I was talking about all of my hot wife exploits, so I guess it was kind of like audio porn in a certain way. And I had all of these listeners that would reach out and be like, you should really do some OnlyFans stuff and actually put it up. And even when I very first started doing this, it was really only with friends, people that maybe had an OnlyFans, but they weren't like hardcore creators. They were just people that I would have banged off camera. So I just kind of happened into this. It certainly wasn't strategy, but I'm very happy to find myself in a fun, ever growing part of the industry by happenstance.
Well, smokers, y'all see this is going to be a real good one because just the thing that she said, she was on a podcast talking about her hot wife exploits, and they said she should do porn. People, what did I tell you? The gateway drug to porn, one of them is being a swinger. And with that being said, it's time to smoke this over. And welcome to the Smokers Lounge. You know who I am. I am Captain Officer of the Champ, aka the Porn Rap Star, your wonderful host. You can find all my links with one link, allmylinks.com/porn rap star. Four sponsors to tell you about. First one being eroticismmagazine.com. Next up, blusherotica.com. For you people that like candles, the Kinky Candle Company. Link is in the description. And if you need help legally, she's gorgeous, she's beautiful, she's the queen of all. Mitchell Ferrari. Link is in the description. Also, you can find me 5 days out of the week in the mornings at fullswatradio.com. Also at sgpradio.com, as well as skyheartafterdarktv.com. Now, as you can see, she's a gorgeous, sexy redhead. Don't let the innocent soccer mom look fool you. She is a very nasty, freaky, sexy, cool lady that went from telling the stories to actually creating them on camera. She is a pog. She's a hot wife. She is a sexy MILF. And she is the proof that you get better with age. You feel me? So I'm gonna let lady, this hot wife from Vegas, introduce herself. Tell them who you are, baby.
I am Sin City Hotwife. I live here out here in Las Vegas. I create, I podcast, I do all the fun stuff.
And now, before we get to the podcast that you was on talking, how let's begin. How did you get into swinging?
So my partner has been non-monogamous most of his life, but when we got together, I had never been non-monogamous.
Mm-hmm.
We got into kind of an alternate relationship. We actually started off in the kink world, and
Mm-hmm.
we were just having all these crazy conversations about fantasies and bucket list items. And probably about 3 months into our relationship, I was like, well, what if we just fucked other people and watched? Because in my mind, that was what swinging was. I had no idea what I was talking about. I hadn't been exposed to any of it. So that was like the first idea. And he was the one that was like, I've always wanted a partner who would play with men in front of me,
Mm-hmm.
which was different. You know, I assumed that he would want to like jump into threesomes or want to play with other women and have me watch. But the
Mm-hmm.
majority of our swinging journey has been me playing with men, which is,
Mm-hmm.
hence the name and what I now create.
Yeah, because it so people get to say because we talk about swinging, what got people into swinging and everything like that is that I tell people the core of the relationship in order for it to work, the core relationship had to be strong, and it helps when the dude do want to watch you get fucked by men. Because I'm sorry, it has to be a balance. She can play just as much as he can,
Yes.
period. And how much was you were taken back? Because most of the time, dudes talk about threes with him and a woman and another woman. How taken back was you that he was like, no, I want to watch you fuck dudes?
I mean, I was surprised, but I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was ridiculously excited by it. I mean, it was like, again, it was the dream. I think I've kind of always known I was meant to be non-monogamous. I've always been kind of naughty. And I had never cheated on past partners, but I had thought about it a lot. And I
Mm,
just kind of knew that I had more sexual energy and drive than one man could typically handle. So for me, it was like, oh my God, I finally found like my utopia, it just my perfect fit. And yeah, I mean, to your point, we were already having really open and honest conversations about sex anyway. We were talking about everything, whether it was us having sex or the things we wanted to try or the kinks we had. So I think when you have that foundation in place, it's like, the sky's the limit. And to, have my partner tell me he wants me to bang hot dudes, I'm like, my life is pretty great. So
So let's talk about the first time that you banged another dude and y'all was in the swinger lifestyle. How did y'all find him? What was this? Paint the picture for us. Y'all first time doing this.
yeah, we've been at this for 7 years. So we actually, when we very first got into the lifestyle, the first guy I ever played with, my partner Brian found him on Craigslist casual encounters, like right before it went away. I miss it so much. That's how I used to find all my hookups when I was single. And he found this amazing guy. He looked like freaking Bradley Cooper. And we went out for coffee with him. And I was so nervous, but Brian talked me through the whole thing. And he was so excited about it that I was like, well, if he's this pumped and here's this hot guy who clearly wants to bang me, why wouldn't I do it? And the first time was interesting because Brian watched from the doorway for most of it. Like he didn't want to be right up in the action or be too much in our faces because he didn't know how I was going to feel about it. And
Mm-hmm.
so he kind of watched from the doorway, and I'm playing with this guy, and Brian keeps looking over at us. And I mean, the whole thing was just so erotic. And then it was the next day that I was like, oh, should I feel guilty about this? This doesn't seem normal. This doesn't seem like, something that normal, quote unquote, normal couples do. And then through talking with Brian, I was like, well, what does it matter? We both thought that that was amazing. I feel close to him right now. It was hot as hell. We had sex for hours after the guy left. So it's like, no harm, no foul. And it just was kind of off to the races from there.
Yeah, because from our backgrounds, especially if you from the South or you from religious background or what have you, the one thing I keep saying, religion don't teach a healthy sex life in a marriage or a relationship. Actuality, they
Yeah.
teach the exact opposite. Sex is for more than just to procreate. We're supposed to enjoy it. That's why God made it. So, so, but you, because I asked somebody this before, it's just like with me, I used to cheat a lot until I, you know what I'm saying? And then when I got into porn and with the partner I got now, I found out about poly and BDSM and swinging and all that. Do you think if you knew about that back in the day, would you have moved differently? Or not even felt as, you know what I'm saying, as bad as, you know what I'm saying, when you did cheat because it was like, look, damn it, I want to be polyamorous anyway.
Right? Yeah, I mean, maybe I grew up in a pretty Mormon heavy community in Montana.
Ooh,
So
ooh.
I think I needed to kind of take the journey that I took. I don't think, if someone had laid a playbook in front of me for being non-monogamous when I was 20, I don't know that I would have had the guts to follow it. I think I
Mm,
needed to go through the rough years of my 20s to
yeah.
realize that I didn't want to be monogamous.
Oh yeah, trust me, you find out things as you go through. And y'all know how I feel about women in their 30s and 40s when it comes to when they talk about prime. That's when they're in their prime because they understand themselves way better than when they were in their 20s. It's not because they're able to have more babies.
Right?
Man, we came up
Yes,
with
I have
that
no
dual
problem
shit.
asking for and telling what I need.
Yeah, most definitely. So y'all doing the swinging, the hot wife. So how did you ended up getting on a podcast discussing your hot wife adventures? Shouts out, shouts
Well,
out to Texas
again,
Soccer Mom.
yeah. Yeah, I trust me, people in my life have been they were a little shocked when it first happened too. Because I mean, when we first got into it, I was in working for corporate America. I was like the ultimate 27-year-old. I was not wild outwardly facing at all. So people were very surprised. But I think the main reason we started the podcast, it started off as a blog because, again, this was happening in Montana. And I felt like I was kind of off on this island by myself. None of my friends were swingers. I didn't know anyone that had ever been outwardly non monogamous. I'm sure they were doing it behind closed doors, but I didn't know about it. So I was like, well, I'm just going to get my story out into the world and see if people want to connect with it. And it turns out I'm the worst writer of all time. So the blog was very short lived. But my partner Brian was like, well, why the hell don't we do a podcast instead? You're a much better talker than you are a writer. And From Porch Swingers was born. That's my podcast. And yeah, I mean, it really did just start off as like kind of an audio diary for us to talk about all of the naughty stuff we were doing and, some of the emotions that go into it too. But it was pretty raunchy in the beginning. It was very like play by play of my play. And also I wanted to be able to look back on it years later and kind of chuckle and or get turned on or whatever. It was a lot for us more so than other people, but then it kind of exploded. So we were really fortunate with that. But yeah, the podcast is kind of my little baby. We do a lot of other things professionally, but that's always going to have my heart.
Oh yeah, and for you, when y'all start the podcast, um, did you realize how much, especially when it comes to women's sexuality, how much women listen to podcasts and live vicariously through you ladies? Because like even with the podcast, one
I had
podcast,
no idea.
yeah, they live vicariously hard through y'all.
Yes. Yeah, I mean the best compliment I've ever received is like I still remember this mom that reached out to us. She was like a PTA mom of four, and she was like, "I'm not non-monogamous and I don't plan to be, but I'll listen to you guys like what after I drop my kids off at soccer practice or something." And it's like that excitement that I take home to my husband. So it's like even if you're not a swinger, the fact that you can be open-minded enough and get turned on enough by our stories, that's a huge compliment.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Shoot, that it's funny. Even when I have like if I miss let's say a Thursday or something, because that's sometimes when I miss, they hit me up and like, what happened to the episode? Like you literally
Right.
become part of their day, especially what I'm saying, especially if you somebody that drop regularly, what I'm saying, and how good it felt to relay and tell the world your stories. Because sometimes we can't tell the next person the fun that we're having because of judgment or what have you. And you was able to, even before you got in porn, to create not only a base that was ready to see you do porn, but also a base that wanted to follow you on your journey. You feel what I'm saying? How did it feel, you know what I'm saying, building that with the podcast? Because a lot of times porn comes before the podcast.
Yeah.
You one of the few ladies that I've talked to that started with the podcast that eventually did porn. So that's why I asked. I said, for you, how did it feels that you walking into you doing porn? You already had a base made off of the podcast.
Yeah, yeah, a huge portion of my watchers still to this day are podcast listeners. So, yeah, I mean, it's a very humbling thing because I have made friends from all over the world because of doing a sex podcast. Like who would have thunk? I certainly didn't think that was going to be the case. I thought this was going to be this tiny little show and no one was really going to care and it was just going to be for us, like I said, giving this kind of audio diary for ourselves. And you realize pretty quickly that sex connects people, which I know sounds strange to some people, but I'm sure you get it. Like sex really
Yeah.
does connect people, even if it's not us having sex together. The idea of, connecting over a shared love and passion for sex and what it can do for a relationship and what it can do for an individual person, your own sexual exploration, those are all very powerful connectors.
Yeah.
And I think that's been the biggest thing that's come out of the show. And it's also something I've carried into the world of porn because I don't look at porn as some guy jerking off to my content. I look at it, again, as a way to connect. I
Mm.
look at it as a way for people to, like you said, potentially live vicariously through me. Does it get people's dicks hard? I certainly hope so. But that's not the only goal I have in creating content. And I think that's one of the reasons I've had the success that I've had.
Mm. Yes, yes. Which, see, I can tell she's a podcaster because she knew where I was heading and she gave me the perfect segue to it. That's why I love pod mommies. Yeah. And with that being said, now when did podcast turn to you doing porn? And who started the conversation and how you started to go about it with finding talent, recording, and all that when y'all first started?
Well, we would have people reach out via email and social media DMs all the time that were like, "Does Brenna have an OnlyFans?" Or, I think this really started picking up mostly like right before COVID, and then obviously heading into COVID when people had all of this time on their hands,
Mm.
and they were just curious and wanted more content from us. And I didn't think that that's the road I wanted to go down.
I
In
don't
my
see
head, I had
how
this very
if you sit
stereotypical.
there telling them some of the steamiest hot wife stories, and trust me, the smokers know because I done had a lot of hot wives on here. Ain't no way in hell they ain't gonna sit there and want to see you fuck. But I want to see this. Damn, she sucked the dick like that. Listen how she described it. I want to watch.
Well, thanks. Yeah, I mean, in my head though, I had this very like stereotypical view of who does porn. You know what I mean? It's got to be a size 2 with big fake tits, and it's got to be, somebody in their 20s, and I was none of those things at that point. So I sat on it for a while, but probably I don't know, halfway through like the pandemic, I decided to kind of jump in. And at first, it was just kind of some nude pictures, and it's
Mm.
obviously exploded from there. So.
Yeah, because looking at your page, you fit right in line what they want to see. Because it's
I hope
like
so.
not because old school porn, 18, 19, size zero, maybe a 6 at best. Now they want them thicker. Now they want older. Period. It's funny that now they making 20-year-olds be MILFs. I'm just saying.
The first time I was called a MILF, I was a little offended, and then I was like, "Oh no, that's actually a really good thing. Never mind."
so she, so like I said, so with your first shoot, like you said, it was you was finding people. So when did you decide to deal with established talent?
So are you asking like when did I decide to step out from just my friends and start actually
Yeah,
creating with like legit
yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's only been probably in the last 2 years or so. And I mean, I one of my strengths is networking. So I just started like reaching out to people and developing a certain level of rapport, and they would introduce me to somebody else, and it just kind of spiraled, honestly. I would say only within the last year am I like hardcore going to the conventions and doing shoot houses and those types of things. So it's still, I don't know, I still feel like sometimes I'm a little bit of a newbie at some of this stuff, but yeah, I guess it's been about 2 years now.
Well, shit, from what I mean, you don't look like a newbie.
I'll take
You
it.
fit right in. Shit. Cause so because the reason why I ask this is that because here on the podcast, unlike other podcasts, not knocking other podcasts, we really get to the stink of the filming and all that. So for you, when you started working with the more established talent, what I'm pretty sure that when we work with established talent, even though we might have been shooting, we see that the game is a little different when we deal with the professionals, not the people that we swing with or what have you, because there's a little bit more sense of urgency with the filming, the studio style, as I like to call. So for you, how much of adjustment was it going from shooting with just my homies, people that we picked up, what I'm saying, for Hot Wife stuff, and they was willing to film, to oh, it's studio lights, it's the professional camera, they need to be tested, TTS tested, uh, uh,
Paperwork, yeah, all of that.
paperwork, yeah, all that. So how much of adjustment was it for you, on camera and
I
off?
mean, I realized pretty quickly I had no idea what I was doing. I'll say that. Like, I had no idea how much really goes into all of this. I mean, for me, I just wanted to be a sponge. I have a lot of respect for the industry, being a sex positive person, and basically having an audio porn podcast. I had so much respect for the industry. So for me, it was like, I'm going to come in and be as humble as humanly possible. I'm going to soak up every piece of information I can. I mean, every single person I have worked with along the way has taught me something about the filming process. That's how I look at it. And, obviously, I've worked with some people who are ridiculously knowledgeable and professional and have taught me invaluable amounts of information. And then others where it's a little bit more fun and silly. But I that's how I've really tried to look at the industry without sucking all the fun out of it. Because the
Yeah.
other thing I've learned very quickly is you can become far too analytical, and people pick up on that. I don't want to create content with people that I wouldn't want to fuck off camera, just to be completely frank with you. The vast majority
Thanks
of my
for
shoots
being
are with
honest.
people. Yeah, it's just the honest truth. I want to create real content. Obviously sometimes there are storylines, and at the end of the day this is work, but I also don't ever want it to come across to my audience like I'm doing this only for the money that comes out of it.
Mhm.
Because the reality is I could do a lot of other things. I do this because I care about it and it's fun, and I want to keep that element of it there too.
Yeah, because that's one thing we talk about when it comes to content trade. The difference with the paid gigs, and the smokers know this, but for my new smokers, the paid gig is girls don't have a choice who they film with 9 times out of 10. Content trade, they have a choice 9 times out of 10. They pick them off top. Do I want to fuck him? But besides
Yep.
that, because now you didn't work with established talent, what else they got to bring to the table other than you want to fuck them? Because it's it, it helps for the chemistry to make the scene pop, but there's other things that
Sure.
we take into account because of our brand, because we're now becoming more professional with it. You get what I'm coming from?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously want a professional person in general. Again, this world is complicated in that at least for me, I'm constantly trying to find a balance between professionalism and treating this like a job, and making sure that, consent conversations are happening and boundary conversations, and obviously the testing is the most important thing of anything that we do. So like I'm balancing that with the fact that I still want to have fun on set. And finding somebody who can match both of those things, somebody who's going to show up on time, who's going to follow through with what they say they're going to do, who, understands contractual obligations and is willing to abide by that. Like, those are all things that are just as important as me being attracted to the person.
Oh yeah, and everything. And two, also, because it makes sense you want to be attracted to who you filming with, because that what makes the sex more authentic, because the more attractive you are, the easier for y'all to establish that chemistry. You know what I'm saying? And talk
Yeah.
and also it ain't so awkward on set because nothing worse than someone you ain't attracted to. Y'all trying to figure out the attraction.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, obviously there are people out there that, they place a higher emphasis on like somebody's following or how established they are or what their reputation, looks like over like the longevity of their career.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not saying that's not important, but for me that's not the most important thing because again, I want my audience to watch my content and be like, she genuinely enjoyed every single second of that. That is the look of a hot wife who is having a freaking blast. So that's way more important to me. And, that's the most important thing to me is that I'm being authentic in my creation.
And see, that's why I love when ladies part of their storytelling porn is the hot wife experience. Because not only can dudes live through it, women can live through it too. Because there's girls that might fantasize want to be a hot wife but don't have the husband that's willing to let her be that, or they are hot wives. You know what I'm saying? So with you is how much do you implement? Because how can I put this? Yes, we're being realistic in real life and we're showing real life situations, but we don't want to lose the fantasy in the process neither, because that what really makes the money. And trust
Yeah.
me, he has mastered the art of being a sex symbol. We'll get to that in a minute. So my question is to you: what when it comes to your scenes or what have you, how do you pick the scenarios for you to play out? You know what I'm saying? So that you can marriage that is authentic with fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there are certain hot wife fantasies or scenarios that sell better than others.
Mm,
Luckily for me, all of my bestsellers are ones that I genuinely love doing.
mm,
Like for example, in my relationship with my partner Brian, I am not necessarily a cuckoldress. It's more of a like a true hot wife stag vixen dynamic.
yeah.
However, I would happily put on that cuckoldress hat if that's going to turn somebody on. That turns me on. The idea of like some small penis humiliation or, even just some elements of dominance over a potential cuck in my scene or all of those things are things that turn me on anyway. So, and they sell really well and people want to see them. So I've been very fortunate in that what I really enjoy doing also is what sells.
Mm. Oh yeah. See, that why I tell people I was like, when I tell them like, well, I'm not a great actor, but just do something that you do in your life. You just brought it to porn.
Exactly. Or something that you've always wanted to do anyway. So it's really not that much of a stretch. I mean, you might be acting, but you're not completely taking yourself out of who you are as a sexual person.
Oh no, because the sex we have is real. It's just how can it ain't. It's not real as in ain't there. Everybody's not going to get the sloppy blowjob every time they get a blowjob from their wife. You lucky if you get two positions sexually, and if it lasts long. You know what I'm saying? And so no matter how much people say, well, no, my point is real. This, that, and third is in my no. It's a real fantasy, not real,
Right.
because how often do you see a girl? How often, fella, do you get your dick role reverse cowgirl? I'm just
Yeah, it's
saying.
not common.
See, y'all be cowgirl out this pitch. You talking about some reverse cowgirl? So, so, so for you, how often do you film to keep up with your content?
I mean, it really just depends. I try genuinely to have kind of bursts where I do take a break from the content part of it and just live out the hot wife lifestyle off
Mm-hmm.
camera. I think for me, that's very important because, I've talked to creators where it's like, it's like their whole hot wife world becomes what's happening on camera. And sometimes they kind of lose the love they have for the lifestyle. And for me, it's like I am first and foremost a non-monogamous person and I want that to be fostered. So I tend to kind of take breaks. I'll film for a couple months at a time and then I might take a couple months where if I'm doing anything of the non-monogamous variety, it is strictly off camera with my friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean it's understandable why, because of the testing. And when you
Well,
do
that
this
too.
business,
Yeah.
when you do this business, your personal sex life changes drastically because the
Yes,
way
it
that you was
does.
moving before, you can't move once you start this.
Very much, yeah, that's hugely different. And
And
also, it's interesting because there's a lot of people. So, like, I host lifestyle events, and I go to a lot of lifestyle events, and there are a lot of lifestylers that the second that they find out I create content or other people create content, it's like this concern regarding, am I going to be safe to play with? And what's interesting to me about that is I think of it the reverse way. I'm now thinking of it as I'm the safest person in the room. I'm the person who's tested more than anyone else there. I'm the person whose sexual health is now part of their career.
mm,
So, I don't entirely understand that dichotomy that exists or that
me
fear
neither.
that people have. Yeah, it's kind of odd, but it's
No,
something I've
because I'm gonna tell
experienced.
you what they don't talk about a lot is the stigmatism that swingers that do porn get from other swingers. People scared to talk about that, but that's real. That a lot of
Yes,
times the swingers look down upon the people that swing that do porn.
right. Yeah,
Even
that's
the
definitely been a thing. I mean, again, I'm very active in that world, so I'm on the subreddits for swinging, and I'm on the Facebook pages, and there is kind of this ire that people have, and to some degree, I I don't understand it, but I understand where their heads are going, where it's like this is like a pure thing to us, and it's about just the general excitement of non-monogamy and having sex with other people. And by taking that and inserting it into porn, you're kind of perverting what the idea of it is. That's how they think. Um, I look at it very, very differently, which is that I think hot wifing is such a beautiful thing. And the more that it's shared and talked about and kind of normalized, the more potentially people can have these conversations in their relationships and decide maybe if it is right for them. They can step out of this mindset of like monogamy is the default and that's the only way we can operate within our relationship. So to me, porn is just another extension of that. I don't share the same logic as a lot of lifestylers in that way, obviously, since I do both.
which is funny because before, well, in prior years, the porn companies and porn talent was wary of swingers because
Yeah.
in the swinger club sometimes they don't wear condoms. I digress. Y'all done heard the stories, the scary stories anyway. But it's funny when I started hearing swingers had an issue with swingers that did porn. I said, well, I would think they'll be the first ones you want to fuck because they're gonna be tested on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
Yep. That's how
They
I
got
think
more
of
to
it.
lose than you do. And for you, how shocked was you that people had looked at you sideways from the swinger community because you did porn?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not an all the time thing, but if it comes up in conversation or if people like recognize me either from the podcast or from the porn world, there is sometimes that concern of like, oh, is she going to be safe to play with? And again, it's a lack of knowledge. It's just a certain level of ignorance of what it
Yeah.
really takes to be in the industry and how many hoops we jump through.
Oh yeah, because it's so many misconceptions that with this podcast I try to show people how stupid they are. From we can't find love, we can't get married. Majority of the industry is married people. You killed that. We can't get jobs or keep a job. I keep telling everybody, healthcare don't give a damn about if you do porn.
Nope.
All they care about is you save lives. They don't give a shit. You're not, what I'm saying? There's some jobs you would get fired for doing this. There's some jobs they were like, oh yes, well she does OnlyFans, man. As long as she can
Yeah,
do a turn, we
exactly.
don't care. You know, I try to kill misconceptions. Period. Even to how easy they think the business is getting in, how easy it is to make the money, how easy it is to maintain it. It's not easy. Period.
Well,
I
what's really
the shoots
funny,
are not even easy. Let's keep it 100. The
yeah,
shoots are not easy. Regardless of
exactly.
the
Well, for all the swingers that are kind of, a little judgy about me creating content, I probably have five that'll reach out to me after they meet me at an event or after, we somehow develop some level of communication with each other. And they're like, I've always wanted to do this. How do I get into this? And it's like, I always celebrate that. Of course, I want more people in the industry. I think that the more of us that are out there, the better. Um, maybe to some degree. There's probably limitations to that. But my point being, I do think that people think this is like easy money. And I think a lot of times too, especially swingers or people that are already very sexually adventurous, they assume that just because they like to fuck and they're good at fucking, that means they're going to be great in the porn world. And that is not how it works, as I'm sure you know.
Oh no, because like I keep telling everybody, being in front of that camera, yes, we fucking, but it's work because it's them positions. That's a lot of moving of the body, holding certain things, holding it in certain positions that sometimes are not comfortable. Trust and
Oh,
believe.
multitasking, not being awkward in front of a camera. Even for me, one of the things I've really had to work on is like my facial expressions. You know, when
Mhm.
I'm just banging for fun, I don't think about how my face looks when I'm having an orgasm. In the porn world, there's been a couple of videos where I'm like, what did I just do with my face? I would turn it off if I were watching that, you know? So it's like you have to constantly be learning and thinking about those things. And yeah, just the average person who just likes sex, yeah, I mean, if you're willing to learn, absolutely. But
Yeah,
if you think you're just gonna breeze right into it and have all of the success in the world, obviously that's pretty unrealistic.
yeah. Cause I tell people we're selling the image and the idea and the fantasy of sex, not sex. No
Right.
one's buying it because you're fucking it. They're buying it because of who is fucked and how they're getting fucked. Period. And
Exactly.
and like I said before, also they buy into the fantasy because the girls that create the fantasy makes the most money in this business, not the girls that sit there and shove a dildo in their coochie every fucking moment they get. No, they want personality with that people.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
So with that being said, now let's get to the fun questions. Do we do anal?
I do not do anal on camera yet. I
Mm.
think I'm going to be changing that in 2025.
Ooh, no doubt. So what's the biggest dick you didn't had in your ass?
Oh, well, see, that's the problem is like most of the guys that I'm shooting with and most of the people that people want to see me shooting with are very, very well endowed men. So up to this point, I mean, I think my man's probably the biggest and I mean, he's got a great cock. But I've shot with men that have 12 or 13-inch cocks and I'm not
Mhm.
mentally prepared for that yet.
Now
So
that's
I think,
interesting. That's interesting. You said they want to see you with big dicks because
yeah,
in this day and age, people think that dick size doesn't matter to the fans. It
it
still matters
matters.
to the fans. It always has. It speak to that so the smokers that are listening will understand the difference between porn aesthetics and real life.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, again, it's back to the fantasy of it. I think for most of my male audience, the reason that they want to see it is for the fantasy of they themselves being with somebody who's taking the big cocks. And it's not necessarily always about like a cuckolding thing or about small penis humiliation. It's more so like I know for my man, he's really into even off camera me playing with men that are well endowed. And for him, it's like it's kind of this almost like biological thing where there's a level of competition that exists
Yeah,
between men and you kind of eroticize that competition. And so if it's a guy with a average cock, it's not the same level of competition. So I think that's
yeah.
a big part of it. But yeah, and the ladies, I mean, again, like it or not, and I know some people kind of give me crap for this because I'm a size queen and I talk about that a lot.
Mm.
I think the average woman typically appreciates a larger than average cock. I'm
Yeah.
just gonna throw that out there.
Oh yeah. Don't get it
That's
twisted.
not to say
Don't
I
be.
haven't shot. Yeah, that's not to say I haven't shot with men that are average size and had a great time and it's sold well, but that's not what people are reaching out asking for. That's not what people are actively seeking out from me.
No, because the simple fact of that when you're doing porn, they want to see you take. Once again, they want to live vicariously. Like you said, a competition. Oh, I was able to please her, and she was with a dick twice my size. I'm bad.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? I'm a bad
Yep.
man. And two, it's kind of like you don't want to see LeBron James play against high schools. You want to see him play against other NBA players.
Exactly.
And so that's why it's funny when girls sit there and say, well, I don't mind being with a 6-inch. You don't want to make money because all you're going to get is dudes asking, well, can't you get a bigger dick?
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah.
my dick bigger than his. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah, and that's part of it too, is that it's not necessarily like impressive to a lot of men. And I do
Yeah.
think that, that I think part of porn is doing something that seems kind of impressive. The idea of like, because I have a small frame too. I'm 5 feet tall. So
Mm.
me with like a big hulking man with a giant cock, that contrast on film looks very different than me being with a 5'6" dude with a 5-inch dick. So, it's about the visuals just as much as it is about the biology and the fantasies.
Yeah, yeah. Because even if he's not even a 10, they want him to at least be thick to where it looks like he got some length and he's stretching the cooch.
Exactly.
Shouts out to the legend Shorty Mac. The dude was a 7 inches, but he was a Foster beer can. So
Yeah,
that's a
that
lot
never
to
sucks
take.
for filming.
You know what I'm saying? Period. So, all have we done or looking to do gangbangs?
I have done one with me and 3 guys. That's the most I've done on camera.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very open to another gangbang in the right situation. I think that that's probably on my list for 2025 as well.
Oh my God. So, what's the number you looking to achieve with your gangbang?
I don't think I want to do any more than 5. I think any more than 5 and it becomes novelty, and more so just for the sake of saying I did it versus what's
Mm-hmm.
actually going to speak to my audience. I could be wrong. I don't know. Maybe I'll put it out there to my folks at some point and see what they want to see. But I think 5 is manageable and fun.
Yeah, and and trust me, they all gonna have huge cocks. Trust me.
Exactly.
So, but are you looking to try DP, D badge, or anything like that?
So I've done DVP on film.
Mm.
I have not done DP yet. And again, I would be very open to that with the right 2 guys. So I think,
Mm.
again, one would have to be slightly smaller than the other. So there's logistical things that go into that. But I would definitely be down for that. I've done it in my personal life and I really enjoy it. So why not do it on camera?
Mm. And she made hint of this earlier. Are we into BDSM, and if so, what side of the fence are we on? Submissive or dom, or switch?
I'm a switch. I definitely lean more submissive, especially like with my partner. And I
Mm.
really am attracted to a dominant man. So I tend to go towards the submissive side more often. But I can easily take on both roles and be equally turned on by either one.
Mm. Yeah, because she was saying with cups and all that. So I like, yeah, she got a dominant side.
Yeah, I
So are you?
can. I can be a little bitchy if I want to, which I think is fun, because everyone thinks I'm so like sweet and innocent looking, and then I'm like breaking out the whips and the leather and the
Oh my God. So with you, are you looking to do like bondage scenes? Any BDSM type of scenes on the submissive side?
I would be open to that. I would probably do it more so for like a paid shoot, just so that it's on a set, it's very controlled environment, it's with people that really know what they're doing. I've been
Uh,
reached out to for like trades for BDSM stuff in the past, and I just think that there's a little bit more risk involved with that than I'm willing to take on right now. But in the right scenario, I would definitely do that.
mm. Yeah, yeah. As a dom, that was one of my favorite things was the bondage scene. That was fun,
Yeah.
especially doing the tying up part because I had to learn a little rope rigging here and there, roping.
Oh, and it looks so good on video too. I mean,
Oh,
Shibari on a beautiful body is just, there's nothing hotter to me.
boy, and you got a beautiful body at that out this piece. So for you, did you worry about your age coming in? Because a lot of ladies I talked to thought that the age would be a detriment when actuality it was a huge plus.
Well, I think for me, it's only been something I've had to think through mentally because, I'm 34. I'm not in my 40s. I'm not in my 20s. So I feel like sometimes I'm kind of in between the two worlds. I'm obviously not a fresh faced, barely legal type. But I'm also not going to play anyone's stepmom anytime soon. I never get asked to step into those roles. So sometimes I do kind of question like where I fit in the industry because of my age. So I don't tend to focus on that a lot in terms of like my marketing. Once in a while I'll call myself a MILF, but I'm
Mm,
not like stepmom bangs the college student or so, that's not I don't know. I guess
Well,
I
I mean,
at
let's
least
keep
I
it
hope
100.
I'm not there yet.
That's the reason why Hot Wife was made, was to bridge the gap between the young and the 40-year-old, which is the MILF. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Because you can be a hot wife in age. So to me, that when that came along, you fit right into it. Period.
Yeah.
And you also play into the hot wife a whole lot. Which to
Yes.
me also creates a what I call a persona to a certain extent. Yes, it's a real persona because she's doing her real life, but that's what I mean by the branding. Yeah, I'm the hot wife. I'm the Sin City Hotwife. You feel what I'm saying? The hot wife from Vegas. So for you, you accidentally ran up on your brand, which has been working ever since.
Yeah, it just fell in my lap. It certainly wasn't some genius strategy I had, but it's apparently a pretty lucrative niche to be in. So,
No doubt. So also being in porn, um, how good it felt, because sometimes porn gives us a community to belong to, you know, and it also gives us confidence, and it gives us the grace of sexual discovery. So for you, what's some of the things that you discovered about yourself through porn that you did not know about yourself sexually before?
oh my God, so many things. I mean, I truly do learn something different about myself in almost every scene. The ones that stand out to me are men that do things, well, people in general, as I've shot with women that have done this too, people in general that do things to my body that I never would have thought in a million years would have felt good, and they felt so freaking good. There's
Mhm.
all of these different erogenous zones, and I had a guy teach me this little trick that, like, there's a little pressure point back here that just drives me
Yeah,
freaking crazy. And him talking about that, he's kind of into like acupressure, and he was
yeah,
pressing on it right before we started our scene. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea that that was something that would make my entire body, tingle. So I cannot tell you the number of things I've learned about myself. I think the biggest thing though is just honestly newfound confidence. I mean, I've always, had a certain level of body image issue that I think most women do. And, you have to get over that pretty freaking fast if you are literally going to be making a living off of being naked in front of people. So, I've kind of embraced, like, it is what it is. I'm constantly working on myself and doing things to make myself feel better. But I didn't really know how, like, mentally strong I was in that way until pretty recently in this journey, I think.
now she says I'm sitting to look at her picture. Mama, you got a banging body.
Thank you.
Jesus. I'm sitting there looking at you now. I'm like, I I guess she didn't know she was hot till she got in porn, ladies and gentlemen. That what happened. That what it was.
That's
She
what it
didn't
was. Yeah.
realize she was hot. You didn't realize you had a monster ass till you got in porn, because that booty is freaking amazing out of this piece. So for you, because like you said, how much has porn? Because we talk about the confidence. Not only gave you confidence physically, but also gave you sexual confidence.
I mean, a lot. I think, it's funny because, again, like the porn that you're having, or the sex that you're having when you're filming porn versus the sex you're having just for the fun of it, they are
Yeah.
different things. They're not the same. There's a lot of things that go into creating the porn, but at the same time, I find myself doing something in a video and watching it back and being like, wow, that's really hot, and then implementing that when I'm just banging for fun, or even, when I'm with my partner or something. And yeah, it's like I never would have thought that that was hot before I did it on film, and now I'm incorporating it into my quote unquote real life. So yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of ways that that's been a thing for me too. I think the biggest thing for me now too is I'm pretty open to a lot of things. It would take a lot to shock me in terms of, somebody asking me to do something. Of course, I can say no, I have the agency to do that, but I didn't really totally understand the complete like swath of different sexual interests until I got into porn, even coming from the lifestyle side. Because I think
Mhm.
lifestylers, for the most part, are pretty vanilla when it comes to their sex.
Oh yeah. Because it, like, even to when I started seeing lifestyle parties implementing BDSM, putting BDSM into the mix with their parties. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, that it kind of sauces it up a little bit because you're mixing two worlds. Because the fetish and the kink and the BDSM world is different from swinging. They're not the same. They might be interwoven because of the people, but not the same.
Yeah, there's overlap for sure, but very different worlds.
Without, and then too, also, like I said, you have mastered what I call the art of being a sex symbol with the pictures that you take. I see you outfits, wear heels and stuff like that. Speak to the outfit, some making the outfit making you feel sexy, which in turn shows off on the camera.
Yeah, well, I mean, like when I'm taking pictures or even what I'm wearing, like before a scene, I mean, I want it to be something that I can look in the mirror and be like, wow, I look freaking amazing. I've had people like request certain outfits from me, or, even obviously like fans sending me things. And it's like, that's always so nice and appreciated. But I mean, I have a wish list for a reason because I know it's going to look good on my body. You know what I mean? Like, I want to put something on me that I'm going to look at myself and be like, damn, you look hot. Because the more that I can do that, the better the pictures are going to be, the better the video is going to be. It really has to be something that I'm passionate and excited to wear. And I love doing that. I mean, it's one of my favorite things in the world, picking out all the little outfits. In fact, it's kind of a turn on for me. It gets me mentally prepared for a scene. A lot of times I'll try it on the night before, and that gets me even more excited to go into it the next day. So that's a huge part of it for me. It's my second favorite part after just the fucking.
Oh yeah, because even to the point, what I used to love about the porn back in the day is that we worked around the clothes, we took the clothes off. The sensualness of taking the clothes off is, like I said, the sensual sex has gotten lost. It's starting to come back now. Period. You know, and it seems like to me that you also enjoy sensual sex. Period. What have you? How much does, when it comes to the sensual sex, helps lends to the fantasy and the hot white fantasy versus if he just railing and trying to fuck the brakes off your ass?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say I don't enjoy a hard pounding every once in a while, but that's not really my preference. Like back to creating the type of stuff that I would do outside of the bedroom. I do appreciate, some sensual touching and I'm really big on kissing. And it was funny to me that when I first got into the industry that guys were always like, is it okay to kiss you? Because in my world, it was always like, well, yeah, why the hell wouldn't you kiss me? That's part of sex to me,
Yeah, that's
So,
how I feel, I was like, man, I used to hate girls that didn't want to kiss. I was like, you killing so many different scenes that we could actually do. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. Yeah, well, and for me, the idea of kissing in general, like I can tell within 10 seconds of kissing someone if I want to fuck them. So that's
Yeah.
a big part of the entire experience for me. It's what revs my engine, it's what leads into all of it. So I'm not going to say it's like a prerequisite, like I have to have that in a scene to be able to do it, but I can't think of a time that hasn't been an element of it. And again, if the scene ends with a hard railing or something, that's never horrible for sales, but I don't think it's authentic to expect that I'm going to enjoy 30 minutes of hard pounding. That's
Oh
not
no,
really.
because see, the point being is what people miss is people want to see the dick going to pussy. That's one of the money shots when you shoot porn because they want to see how much of dick she's taking. I can't see that if you pounding her strong for 15, 20 minutes, hard, You feel what I'm saying?
Yep.
And also, too, it's good when you change pace because it looks better. Because even with me, it's like, yeah, there's some pounding in there, but I think what it is because we didn't sit here and watch all that OnlyFans shit, and that's the point that done dominated for the past couple of years. That what content creators and people coming in think that's the type porn fans want to see when that's not the type porn fans want to see. They want to actually see more sensual, more sex, a change of pace during sex. You know,
And a
girls don't wear
flow.
heels no more.
Yeah. I think the flow of it is really important too. Like you said, the changing of pace, but also like when you're even changing positions, like a lot of people cut that out of their scenes unless it's
I
awkward
keep
for
that
some
in.
reason. I don't cut it out. What's
No,
that?
I love watching them switch scenes.
Yeah,
Switch.
I like. I like seeing people switch positions and kind of the negotiation of like, oh, I'm gonna lay you here now, or lifting up the leg. Like all of those things are things that are very erotic to me. So I'm not cutting them out of my content unless I have to.
Yeah, because to me it's kind of like, um, first of all, who would be the fool that want to cut out? No, because that's sexy to see them switch.
Right. Yeah.
That's sexy to see them switch. I'm sorry. Like, especially get into the position, putting the dick in. It's like, to me, all that plays into the scene also. Period. And I just think that a lot of times, hello, you there? Hello, you there? Oh snap! Oops. I think something must have been lost. Damn, I love that dress. Waiting for it to come back. Oh my god! Oops. Doo-doo-doo. Come back. We just waiting on her to come back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sitting here enjoying watching. I can't pull this up because this is the smoker. This is the smokers lounge. But I am enjoying her pictures. I'm not even going to lie. Yeah, she is sexy. Boop 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 boop. I love me a good redhead, don't y'all, people? And she is back. Hello.
Sorry. My phone is like overheated and just turned off. I have no idea what
Oh,
happened.
I figured that would happen. Either it ran out of juice or it turned off. So,
Something. Yeah. I don't know what's going on with it. Sorry
oh
about that.
my God. So it's all good, beautiful. It's all good. But like I said, the last thing I'm gonna ask you is, how do you balance everything? With the hot wife, your personal hot wife life, the professional hot wife life, the marriage and all that. You know what I'm saying? Because that's it. It's can be a lot. You
It
know.
can. Yeah, I mean, it's just about priorities, right? Everybody in my life, I make it clear with like regular play partners. Obviously, my partner, Brian, is the most supportive person in the entire world. He knows when it's time to go to work, it's time for me to go to work. And when I'm off work, he is my number one priority. Whether it's the lifestyle or otherwise, he's always the most important thing in the world to me. I purposefully surround myself with people like my play partners, or I am polyamorous. I'm open to an additional relationship. uh Everyone in my life has to be understanding of the fact that this is what I do, this is what I enjoy. I'm not going to deal with any of the jealousy. While I understand that that may creep in from time to time, this is what I want out of my life, and no man's going to tell me to stop. So yeah, I've been very fortunate in that way, that everybody kind of is on the same page with me on that. My partner Brian's the most supportive, non you know uh territorial person you could ever possibly imagine, so I'm very fortunate like that. But the other thing for me is like taking breaks from all of it, aside from being with Brian. Like there are times when I'm not doing anything lifestyle and I'm not doing anything porn, and I really need those times for me. That's when I reset, I get myself mentally and physically healthy, and then I'm ready to go again.
There you go, people. So we didn't have this gorgeous, sexy, hot wife up here for a nice, strong hour, and we ain't touched the surface. We ain't talk about a lot, people. There's a lot that got left on the table. So you know what that means, people. I got to ask this gorgeous, sexy redhead the $1,000,000 question. Miss Sin City Hotwife, can I call you a smoke buddy?
Absolutely.
And of course, she'll be back here on the Smokers Lounge, and we're gonna talk her into coming over to loyal fans to my wonderful, wonderful porn podcast network known as the Premium Smoke Room. People, that's right, 5 premium podcasts for you to enjoy, plus special events known as VIP smoke room. I even go live in the VIP smoke room on X from time to time. And you know what happens in the premium smoke room? Let me tell you, the conversation gets more saucier. Tits pop out, dildos might pop out. You don't know what might pop off unless you subscribe. And if you enjoy Triple X, I even got that for you over there in the BCM Triple X vault from my 15 wonderful years career as talent producer. As you get to see my work as I give ladies the work because big dicks growing the sticks. That's why they used to call me Big Country. Also for my Spotify listeners, I got a subscription side over there as well. That the link is in the description where you can hear my show Had the Smoke on It, where I talk about an array of different topics, hot topics, world topics, and I give you my unapologetic and controversial opinions and commentary on them. Also, Savage Smoke, where I talk to the industry's top male talents and producers, as we give you that real smoke from a male perspective about the porn industry, as well as an array of other wonderful episodes, over 400 for you to binge, listen, and watch over on Spotify. So whether it's Premium Smoke or Savage Smoke, either way, subscribe to the smoke. You feel me? So with that being said, Miss Sin City Hotwife, tell everybody where they can spend money on you and find you, gorgeous.
All of my links are at sincityhotwife.co. You can find my whole cornucopia of options there.
No doubt, no doubt. So what did we smoke over? What did we learn? Well, another gateway drug to porn is podcasting, apparently.
Apparently.
The second girl, possibly third, that has a podcast, and she's started her porn career through her podcasting. But what I want y'all to learn is that we need more podcasts with people that do the business, so that when the conversations happen amongst us on these podcasts, you're getting the real. You're hearing more than how many dicks she sucked and how much money she's making. You're hearing the good, the bad, the ugly, and the indifferent. Also, love showing y'all a misconception that you can have a healthy marriage and do this. You can have a healthy marriage and not be monogamous. I told y'all, monogamy is mental. It's not physical. It's just the people that told you to read that little, King James Bible told you that it's physical. No. Because even if you read in the Bible, how many of them motherfuckers is really monogamous?
You are not wrong.
Bottom line, we were born to fuck. We were born to like others. That's why you have work wives. That's why you have work crush. The key is understanding and having the relationship and sexual maturity that comes with doing swinging, that comes with being non-monogamous or traditional. The one thing that these marriages, these relationships teaches vanilla is how to have hard conversations. Conversations that y'all don't want to have that ends up festering, and then next, 10 years later, y'all talk about breaking up and having a divorce because y'all never wanted to have the conversation. He wasn't comfortable enough to tell you that, hey, I want to be paid. He wasn't comfortable enough to tell you that, hey, baby, I would love to watch you get fucked by another dude as I jerk off. She's not comfortable in letting you know that she's into women. She's not comfortable in letting you know that, hey, she would love to watch you with another woman. And or that she would like to have a threesome with you and another guy. Whose fault is that? Y'all fault.
Yep.
Because part of a healthy relationship is adjusting to your mate's change. Because we change with age. Our sexual needs change. Sometimes our sexuality changes. We physically change. Career change. You must be willing to accept and adjust to change. If you don't, let me tell you what ends up happening. Y'all get divorced. And then what ends up happening? That freak that you basically suppressed in your wife ends up becoming a swinger and a porn star. You missed out on all that freaky sex that y'all could have fucking had because you wanted to be approved in the bedroom.
Exactly.
You're gonna, and also, yes, there's jealousy. Yes, there's a lot of human emotion that you're going to have to deal with. But the beauty of it is, you should be comfortable with your mate to have those conversations to where it won't damage your relationship, but it strengthens it. Because, like I said, if your core ain't right, you can't bring a third in because the third is just going to muddy up the relationship and destroy it. Oh, and by the way, it doesn't hurt that she's into women. Uh, or you at least she can get some dick. I mean, she let you get all this pussy. You should be able to allow her to get some good dick. I'm just saying. And it doesn't make the marriage less because y'all swing. See, y'all think cheating. It's only cheating if she don't know, dummies. It's not cheating if both people agree to it, like it, and enjoy it. Sound like a good marriage to me. So with that being said, I hope y'all learned something. So with that, you know how we end these things all day, every day. Life is a learning experience. What's the point of the experience if you haven't learned anything? Smoke this over. Sin City Hotwife, tell the smokers goodbye.
Bye.
We out.